Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back. I've made two videos, one on artillery, one on infantry, and to be honest, did not plan on making this video because tanks are quite unbalanced and the most unpredictable unit type in Nexus War. The reason for this being that artillery is like a very damage extensive unit type. So if you call that the unstoppable force, you have the infantry as the opposite end of the spectrum, like the immovable object. So one has very high offense, one has very high defense. They decided to give tanks HP, which in my opinion is not really a proper buff to give. Because even if you see your builds while playing other RPG games, if you have very high defense, but not enough HP, you can still tank a lot of damage, and most NPCs don't even do any damage to you. So if you have a very high amount of health but not enough defense, you still end up dying pretty easily. So the tanks are in this predicament, but to help you guys out, I guess I can share my knowledge of what I know about tanks. So starting off, I did get a request in from somebody saying that, hey, you should make a guide video on S1 heroes and S2 heroes as well. We haven't progressed that far into the game, so we don't have these heroes that you have that you're showcasing. So I'll tell you this as a extra tidbit in this tank video, and if we don't get another season and devs decide to give us another season X, I'll put an updated list for the new hero guide, so you all can go and see that instead of my old one. Starting off with the tank heroes in Origin Wars, which is season 0, what you should get is Mgear, Samuel, and Nara. So these three are the basics on which you build up your tanks, and the hardest to get in this setup would be Nara. You can get the other two quite easily, even from the purple pools. Nara is a bit more hard to get, so you should save up your legendary hero mementos for this hero right here. So these legendary hero mementos, invest those into Nara. Soon as you cap her, I think you will be spending a lot of time on that if you are free to play. But if you cap her and you get into season 1, in season 1 this hero is going to drop. This is Oppo. So you replace Oppo with Mgear. Now you would have a setup that looks like Oppo, Nora, and Samuel. So at this point you have 3 heroes that can commit to a silence build. So that's pretty solid setup right there, but we will go one step further, and in season 2 you will get a hero known as Nameless. Nameless is the one you replace Samuel with, and now your setup should look like Oppo, Nameless, and Nora. And this is the Eternal Silence build, where you're ensuring that you silence the enemy team time and time again throughout the match, throughout the fight that happens. And this also ensures your superiority over other infantry builds. Infantries rely a lot on skill, because skill is something that these infantry heroes are based on. So if you silence them, you have a high chance of winning. So you do not have a very high chance of winning even with this formation against artillery. Artillery has very high damage. It's still going to out damage you, but as a tank main you should be looking towards taking advantage over infantry mains, not artillery mains. So that's a delusion if you think you have a very good tank setup that artillery mains won't be able to touch you. I have beaten tank mains that are 2 or 3 times my size. So yeah, it's just a bit of an unbalance for tanks. Does not exist for artillery and infantry. This is kind of a very wonky unit type, sorry to say. But tanks do have this move speed advantage where you reach certain bases first, you reach towers first, so you get that first hit reward. That is where they excel. So more for PvE than PvP. Anyways, let's just say that the second setup would be with this guy. The first one is the Eternal Silence that I just told you about, which has Oppo, which has Nameless, which has Nora. The second one has X578. This is the main damage dealer. Then you have Miriam. You want to put Miriam as the support who buffs the damage on X578 to the highest amount it can reach. On the third one, you want a supporting character because this is the main damage dealer. So you can either go for a Nameless, I guess, to insert in like more silence and more survivability, or you could go with Larhan. Larhan is a healer, so heal types, and he can also cause the enemy team to go berserk. Now, not a lot of players are playing Larhan in their setup. Reason being, they already have a Miriam in there, so Miriam's already giving heals. So if Larhan's giving heals as well, you only have one damage dealer. But the logic behind this is that this second setup with X578, Miriam and Larhan is supposed to help you survive artillery attacks. It gives you more survivability, and it gives you one huge burst of damage that you deal at the start of the match with X578. So this can potentially help you get out of some predicaments with arc mains, but it's going to be weaker against, infantry mains. So these are the two main setups that I can tell you about. If you are a paying player, you could go for this hero as the third one. But the more likely thing is that you would end up with Larhan. So that's the setup that you should be going for. So now for Mgears. And this is also another point that I want to make. Tanks are probably the most cost extensive setup. This is not a free to play thing. People think that tanks are the most free to play friendly. They are not, because each and every tank hero heavily relies on its Mgears to complement its own skills. Okay, so if you have Mgears on one certain tank hero and you move those Mgears onto another tank hero, chances are they're not gonna work as well. Because X578 is a damage dealer, you need damage type Mgears like skill penetration, skill attack, skill damage, all damage dealt increased. You need combat speed, at least 2 combat speed nodes on him. So if you run into another X578, your X578 attacks first. And if you have Larhan, you can't be putting damage type, combat types, these type of buffs onto Larhan. You need skill defense, skill resistance, and stuff like that to keep your Larhan alive. So this is a very important thing that you need to be looking out for in your tank setup. And if you're using the first formation, which is the Eternal Silence, the Oppo should go with Balanced Directive Ray here. The Balanced Directive Ray, this is going to give you more vulnerability stacks, and this hero himself also stacks vulnerabilities. That's 2 stacks of vulnerabilities. Put in damage Mgears on this hero, and you will be seeing that in round 4 he has an 80% chance of also committing to a silence. So the Eternal Silence build, this guy is a huge damage dealer. Then the second damage dealer, Nora, and third is Nameless. So you're trying to overpower the infantry mains out there by silencing them and damaging them. With the X578, Miriam, and Larhan build, what you're doing is that you're putting all your damage Mgears on this guy. You're putting him on the Initiative Directive Array. You're putting Larhan onto this one, the Storm, or you can put him onto the Balanced Directive Array for comprehensive reinforced vulnerabilities and improvements, not with the Initiative Directive Array. So this guy and Miriam would heal to compensate for all the damage that artillery is dealing to you, and X578 would do all the damage. Miriam would also end up with defense type Mgears, and that is how you would survive against arc mains. So if you do this properly, you should be able to get the most out of your tank mains. Anyways, that's the knowledge that I know of that's currently being used in, I guess you could say, meta. So don't swap a lot of your Mgears. After you get the Mgears, choose one of these formations. Don't go half and half. You would end up, if you are free to play, you would end up in a very weird predicament. So what I would suggest is that if you're free to play, go with the Eternal Silence build. It's not as cost extensive to you as is the X578 and Meridian build. You can see that I'm using X578 into my tanks, but it's because tanks are not my main. My main focus is on artillery. I'm still capping out some of my artillery heroes with the extra mementos that I get. For example, I'm capping out Sophia. I do have some levels left on Baki, but I'm using Sintra, I'm using Animox, I'm using Florenis, who are hard capped for me. So that's that, and that's all that I can give you regarding heroes, the tips regarding heroes. So let's come out of here, and now we can go into the Meteorite lab. As for the Meteorite lab, it's this part for the tanks. So for tanks, you need to max out everything. It's not a particular node that you need to go to. For artillery, it was the combat speed node. For infantry, it was the basic defense node. But for tanks, you need everything. Then you need this AoE trigger chance for more damage. After which, I will still recommend that you go for the Galactic Resonator, so you can get more resources out of your Oculus 4X. And the final one, I still have not unlocked that, so I don't know. Coming into T-frames, the most suited T-frame to tanks is this Doomsday. Doomsday gives you the ability to plunder Origin outside of your Central Titan. I use mine with my first Titan. I don't use him on the Central Titan, so Doomsday does bring me Origin, and tanks ensure he brings the maximum amount back. For the component interface, this one, the accessory interface, what you could go for with the X578 is the trajectory guide, or if you don't have that, you could go with the static high temperature cutter to give more a damage boost to X578, or you could go with the energy converter. Energy converter is the best with giving the damage. If you're running the Eternal Silence build, you could go with the force field generator. This would ensure that you get more excess healing and more survivability against infantry. So these are the setups for tanks. For the other interfaces, the fuel core ones, you want to make sure that you're getting HP stat, this tank health stat. I only have one. I do have attack and defense, but I would recommend that you roll for the health stat, max out the health on your tanks. Anyways, that's that for tanks, I guess. So I hope this video is helpful to you guys. I didn't really intend on making a tank guide because I'm saying this again and again, tanks are the most weakest unit in Nexus War right now. So if you're a tank main, I'm sorry, man. It's just this game is a PvP game, so if you're playing PvE in a PvP game, there's not much consolation I can give you. Maybe in the upcoming seasons, devs would release something that would put tanks above both infantry and artillery. It remains to be seen. Anyways, this is my opinion. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys around.